So it's really important to me, thank you, for you guys to have an opportunity to ask us questions, for them to be able to talk about this experience. So we're just going to take a few minutes, and then you guys can go out in the lobby and you can meet your adoring public. But in the meantime, does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
What the hell did you do with your boobs and the duct tape?
Valid question.
So I had a bra on, and I just kind of helped it.
Oh, so the duct tape was done directly on your breast.
No, God.
All right. Anybody else?
She was very concerned. We heard a lot of stuff today, ma'am. And that's the thing you were worried about. My breasts appreciate your concern. But they're fine. It's fine. All is well. Any other questions?
Who feels better now? Who feels better now?
Who feels better now? Does anybody want to expand on that?
I'm just kidding. You know this.
Don't make me just be on the mic by myself.
Why do you feel better?
Why do you feel better? Thank you, Donna.
I will share that not just do I feel better right now in this moment, but this is not the first time I've talked about my eating disorder experience. And the fact that I realized that while it was the most vulnerable thing I was probably ever going to do, the very first time I ever spoke about it publicly, as people approached me after my talk and shared that their daughter had had a similar experience or that they were themselves in the midst of a similar experience, I really began to understand something that I said publicly, that my life is not just about me. I believe that. I began to understand that internally, and how our life is not just about us, and that our stories impact each other in such incredible and powerful ways. So I think it's not just the feeling of relief from having done it, it's the joy in knowing that we've given voice to something for someone who maybe still is silent today.
And not just, I guess, more after her point, not so much feeling better, but it was just more about showing that it does not all look the same. I think we talk about inclusive and things like that, but I came to the table and was like, I don't belong here. So not a lot of the things happened to me that I heard, from my fellow showmates. And so I was like, why am I here? And I mean, yes, I've been around a lot of mental illness with family and working with other people, but I was like, mine is like this compared. And that is part of the reason that I stuck with this and decided to share that, I'm not the strong person that I put out and portray to be, that I have things going on underneath, and I don't talk about them because I do think they are, minimal compared, but everything has a high and a low and a middle, and so it's all valid, and that's just what I hope came out today.
Just really quick, I just wanted to elaborate a little bit. I always felt alone in my life, and so speaking here tonight and with my fellow castmates or whatever we are, sisters, I don't feel so alone. And I've always said, what Kara said about her not feeling like, I just want to say, everyone has their story, and whatever is worse for me is worse for me, and whatever is best for me is best for me. And whatever is worse for you is worse for you, and whatever is best for you is best for you. And although I don't walk in your shoes, I can walk in your footsteps. Thank you.
So the thing that I love about this project is that there is room at the table for all of us. There is a story in everyone, like Tracy said, but it's also, we don't compare our diagnoses. We don't say, well, your life is harder and my life is easier. We say that we all can see ourselves in one another. And I want, what I am most dedicated to is that each and every one of you saw a part of yourself on this stage tonight. That's the point of this. relationship, and we each have an equal role. We tell our stories and you hear our stories, and maybe in hearing our stories you feel seen for the first time in your life, and that's why we're here. Any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
Anybody? What do you do to relax? I was supposed to say it in my thing, but then my dad told me that I was a performer, so I just went off on that. And didn't do the things that I wrote out and rehearsed and listened all the way here. But so for me, and I did it backstage in the intermission because I had lost it after my friend and her wonderful story. But so for me, it is the creativity, and so I talked about being an artist. But backstage, I was doing different like patterns of creative deep breaths just to like change it up a little bit, and I was making the circles on my hand. I was walking back there, and then just even a doodle, like before you go into a big meeting to release something out. And of course art, and that's my thing is helping people express themselves with expressive art in colors and textures and things like that, because sometimes the words just don't give it enough meaning.
I'm going to be totally honest here and say that I'm very rarely ever in a state of relaxation. Yes. But also still going to be realistic, and honestly, it's when I'm in my bed and like doing nothing. That's it. I don't have any like self-care practices, although maybe I should.
Baby steps, girl.
I mean, per my story, alcohol helps, but you're supposed to like not do that. And I'm gonna pass the microphone.
One of my self-care practices is Pinterest. I really love Pinterest. I go on and I design houses for myself. I also fill my cart with different clothing that I would like to have. I like scarves and shoes. So sometimes I'll fill my cart all the way up to the max, and then I'll buy myself one item. It's really fun and it's relaxing.
I will comment that I too am not a regular relaxer. That's not a natural state for me to be in. And I think as the universe would have it, I found a husband who is incredibly gifted at relaxation. And this is not a joke. I cannot make this up. His family, he's Osage Indian heritage, and they have t-shirts made that say Osage exercise, and that means you lay down and you take a nap. But it has been a real blessing in my life, because being still in the family that I grew up in, to be performing and to be doing and to be executing was the only thing to be valued. And so to be still was like not, it was worthless. There was no value in that. And so finding space and time to just be still. Even today before the show, we laid down together and I read a book and he Osage exercised, and it's something I'm not used to, and it's incredibly refreshing. So sometimes just being still in and of itself is meaningful. And if you struggle with that and you have perfectionism in your blood, I've started a yoga practice, and I used to laugh at people that said that, and then I did it, and I thought that's why it works. So that's something.